So we're going to let them continue their work and feed and enjoy themselves in here as well. We are out here in the garage today, ready to build a raised bed. In fact, we're building a 3x3 raised bed, so 9 square feet, and we're using 2 different types of lumber. We're using just some 2x4x8 studs that have been cut down to 3-foot segments, and some of these dog-eared cedar fence posts. And we're going to cut those down as well to 3-foot segments, and I'm going to show you the way we build a raised bed. First thing we're going to do, we're going to create our legs. We're going to do this by attaching our 2x4s in an L shape. Here we go. Just like that, we have our 4 legs, our supports, and we start adding our paneling. After ensuring that we're level and square, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 level of the cedar around the entire outside of this box, so we'll get it into shape and make it easier for me to work with by myself. Now that we have that single layer done and I can work with these pieces of wood a little bit easier, I went ahead and added a second layer so that I would have as much stability as possible as I go into adding a base so that we can put our wooden slats underneath. Our initial base support is going in at 1 foot, so we'll have the potential for about a foot of soil. So I have my 2 base pieces firmly in place, and this is what the cedar is going to lie across for the base of the bed. And now we got our 3rd layer in. And this bottom layer extends a little bit farther than the base will, but that's just for style. Alright, how cool is this? All put together so far, we've got a nice, really stable raised bed. It's about 3 feet off the ground, about a foot of depth for soil, and now we just have to add the finishing touches. So the finishing touches will be the slats across the bottom, which we have to fit, the little space in between, and then we'll put a little rail on top to make that look nice. Now, one thing you can expect with this kind of lumber is a little bit of variance in the size and the thickness, because this is, again, inexpensive cedar. But that's okay. It's going to work perfectly even with that variance. All right, when all the base pieces are added, and we had to do a little fancy cutting around the edges there, but that's to be expected, what we have is a nice solid bed that's going to hold the weight of that soil just fine. So now all we have to do is add our top, and then I'm going to add 1 little element at the very end just to make this easier to move around, because this is a 3x3 bed, and even though it's made out of this cedar, it's pretty heavy. I want to go ahead and put casters on here because this is going to be heavy to move around. Now the casters that I found, these are 90-pound casters, which will be fine to support what we have here. But you can see that if I try to screw it on like this, I'll get 3 screws in and 1 missing. So what I'm going to do, and this will add a little bit of stability as well, I'm going to take a little piece of 2x4, screw it in here, and then we'll have plenty of surface to mount each of these on. All right, here's what it looks like when we've added that 3rd piece. It's about an 8-inch block there. So we've got 1 to go the whole way around. And I drew an outline of where we're going to put the caster. And you can see we're trying to get as much of the meat of these pieces of wood as possible. And we're going to go ahead and put all 4 on. And because this is an indoor bed, this is why we put the casters on there. Easy movement for anybody that needs to move it around as we shuffle it around downstairs. All right, folks, there it is. The bed is finished, mobile, sturdy, in great shape. All of this for around $60. So 3x3, 9 square feet, around $60. The only thing we have left to do now is add food safe plastic on the inside and up the sides in order to protect the wood. Keep the moisture off the wood, and we are in great shape. And what we've just done is we've added a pond covering, like an outdoor pond covering, and this plastic creates a barrier so that we don't have any moisture going down and causing mold or any other kind of damage to our bed, to the cedar. And now we've added, or we've started to add, some of our soil mix. And what we're using in here is a mixture of, you can see it here, peat moss, vermiculite, perlite, and organic potting mix that we got, and we've added eggshells and some general organic fertilizer. And on top of that, we're going to add some worm castings and some worms. There's a little bit of soil here as well. Oh, there we go. You can see some of the worms. There we go. They look, oh, there we go. There's some movement from our vermiculture setup. So these are some of the castings, and yes, there's a little bit of soil mixed in, but some castings, some worms, and we're going to let them continue their work and feed and enjoy themselves in here as well. One of the benefits of this vermiculture setup is we have worms on hand. We have plenty of worms. They've been multiplying like crazy, and so we can add them to our soil in here. So they'll keep doing their work in this soil and keep multiplying. And so we're basically expanding their home base, letting them continue to do work for us. And now we need to finish filling up the rest of this bed. And one thing that's really important here, and you probably noticed it, we're adding a lot of water, because whenever you work with peat moss, that initial attempt to get the soil damp or moist takes a bit, but once you get it in there, once you get the moisture in there, it retains it very well. All right, let's fill this the rest of the way up. The last supplements we're going to add to this raised bed before we're all set come from our vermiculture setup. We have some black gold that we've screened down into a somewhat smaller size, and you can see there's definitely different particulate sizes in here, but again, we've screened it down. There's going to be some, for sure, some worm eggs along with all that other nutritional value. You can see within 6 months, actually, I'll show you something. Within 6 months, we've been able to more than fill up this 5-gallon container. We've already used about half of this one, and there's still a whole bunch more. So these worm castings are coming out fast and furious. These worms are doing a great job. We're gonna add our black gold here, just a nice layer, and then we'll mix it in. And I'll get to that in a second. But the second thing we're gonna add is our worm leachate. And this worm leachate is liquid gold, liquid black gold. There's so many pieces that we can add from our vermiculture setup that are going to make this bed amazingly productive. Now, this whole setup took us a little bit longer to get started, especially when we had to add this food safe pond liner. That took a little bit to figure out. Fortunately, we have an engineer in the family. With that being said, now that we do have it set up, this is going to be a multiple season raised bed. So this isn't something that's just going to last 1 year. This is going to last us for many years to come down here in our indoor setup. A big part of our transition inside is making sure that we have as much space as possible in our grow tent to grow as many varieties of vegetables as we can. And one piece of that is putting together this raised bed. And hopefully, once we've got it all set up now, and again, it took us a little bit longer to get everything together, but we're all set now, the growing should be fast and furious, because we've added a lot of nutrients, a lot of great organic matter provided to us by our worms and elsewhere, and I'm confident that what we plant in here next is going to take off no problem at all. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.